Okay, today we're going to talk about, I hope we get through it all. So we're going to charge, and boy, can they charge. We're going to talk about Pesach Sheni, which is today, and also Lag BaOmer, which is Tuesday, because we're going to talk about Pesach Sheni through the lens of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, whose Yortzeit Hilula is Lag BaOmer. Let me refresh your memory. What's Pesach Sheni? So the second Pesach is the first anniversary of the Exodus in the desert. So they're commanded to observe Pesach. Now, integral to that, of course, is bringing the Korban Pesach, which is shechted on Erev Pesach in the afternoon, roasted, and its meat, the inners are offered on the altar, and its meat is eaten by all the participants of the Seder at the end of the Seder, represented for the last 2,000 years by the Afikoyim. You're closing the door. Now, this meat is sacrificial meat. It's part of a korban. It was slaughtered and prepared in the courtyard of the Beis HaMikdash, and part of its meat was offered on the altar. The meat is sanctified meat, which means only one is ritually pure may partake of it. What makes a person ritually impure, Tomei? Many things, but the most severe form of impurity, of course, is being under the same canopy as a dead body, or certainly touching or carrying it. So there were people that came to Moshe Rabbeinu and said, Loma nigara, why should we be left out? We are prevented. Why are you prevented? So one of the opinions is, there's three opinions, that they were doing a mitzvah. Just to cite one of them, they were carrying the remains of Yosef. And it actually turns out it's a 7-day purification process. This was the last day. They were 1 day shy of then being toim, being able to bring the korban. And it's not Lama Nigara. No, you would expect, first of all, what are they asking? You're doing a mitzvah. So you're exempt. You keep the rest of Pesach. You keep the rest of Pesach. You eat matzah. You don't eat chometz. Next year. What's the big tumult? And Moshe Rabbeinu should have responded to that, but he didn't. You're right, and he comes back to the Eibishter, and then God institutes a new law. A month later, which is today, friends, a month later is Pesach Sheni, and here's the ruling, that anybody that didn't bring the Korban Pesach the first time because they were ritually impure, someone had died, and within a week before Pesach, there wasn't time to purify themselves, or they lived too far to get to Jerusalem, and now they moved closer. They couldn't bring it when they lived far. That's a whole discussion. Are they obligated to move closer? At any rate. Or even more than that, they deliberately didn't. They couldn't be bothered. It's a hassle. I'm busy preparing, the Seder for lots of guests. I have no time for the korban, shchita, the blood. Didn't bother. Nonetheless, even deliberately, you're right there. You didn't bother going. There's a second Pesach where everybody can make up for it. Pesach Sheni is born, a new law. Now, the question is this. There's a paper, if you want to follow along, Ronnie, that we have got all these points. If you want to, but don't read ahead, gents, because if you read ahead, you won't understand anything. I'm going to guide you through the points as we go through it, or just listen and then use the sheet later for revision. So the question is this. It's clear from the Torah that Pesach Sheni applies to the individual, no matter what the circumstance, deliberate, impure, or lived far away. But what happens in the unusual scenario if the whole community did not bring the Korban Pesach? And even deliberately, that to be sure, to be clear, if it's a time, God forbid, of a plague or war, or for whatever reason, and the community overall is ritually impure, you don't wait till Pesach Sheni.
You're saying it was their choice?
Yeah, but my case is their choice.
Right.
If it's a case where it's not their choice, because there was death, the law is it's suspended. You don't wait to Pesach Sheni. The community brings the korban round one, the first Pesach. That's clear. But our scenario is an unusual case. The community didn't bother. They didn't bother. Whatever corrupt leadership. This happens, friends. But then afterwards, you know what? No, this was wrong. This was wrong. We should bring it. Do they bring the Korban Pesach on the second round? So look over here, number one. We'll just look at the English. It's an argument in the Tisefta, which is a section of the Talmud. Rabbi Yehuda says the community, like the individual, observes Pesach Sheni. They have a change of heart. Then they bring it. Rabbi Shimon Yochai says the community does not observe Pesach Sheni. I'm sorry, you guys are barred. You could have done it the first time, you didn't. Pesach Sheni is only available to the individual. It's not available to the community. So the Rebbe asks, Gewalt. How could Rabbi Shimon Yochai say such a thing? And of all people, Rabbi Shimon Yochai. So the next few quotations tell us the greatness of Rabbi Shimon Yochai and his great love for the Jewish people. He's the one that says you don't bring the Pesach Sheni. That's our question this morning. So here are the quotes. First one from Tractate Sukkah. Rabbi Chizki said the name of Rabbi Yirmiyah, Rabbi Shimon, who said, I'm able to protect the whole world from the divine attribute of judgment. That's how much he loves the Jewish people, the great defender of the Jewish people, and I alone, in my merit, you'll all be okay. So if this is very inconsistent, you're the great love of the Jewish people, yet you're barring the community from bringing the korban. And quote number 3, he was the tzaddik of the world, he's the foundation of the world. So I'm making a question stronger. Number 4, Rabbi Akiva said to Rabbi Shimon, your power, this is from another quote, is so lofty that your power is so lofty that only I and your creator recognize it. The story over there. Again, and I'll tell you one more quote that's not written on the page. The Talmud says a story once that there was no rain, terrible, no rain. They came to Rabbi Shimon. And how did he affect rain? He didn't even have to pray. He started to speak on the words, Hine ma tov manoim sheves achim gam yochad. How beautiful and pleasant it is when the Jewish people are united. And he started to expound on it and the heavens opened up. What do we see here? That his greatness, he's talked about how beautiful Yidden are, and heaven said, I couldn't respond, and that rain came. So all of these quotations are completely inconsistent with his position. It would seem that what? That no, if the tzibur, the community, did not bring the first korban, sorry boys, you had your chance, you can't do it. What's going on? So the Rebbe is going to take us for a deep dive now, and I'll give you just the overall. I'll give you where we're going now, that we'll see all the quotations that all comes in. One consistent theme. What we're going to see the answer is that sometimes not doing is more. Less is more. Not doing is more. How could this be? How could not doing be more than doing? At the end, we're going to see Rabbi Shimon says, you don't need any Pesach Sheni. You have achieved it beyond. What does this mean? Let's see. Let's begin our journey. So, quote number 5 on your page from the Gemara in Brachos, the prayer of the community is never despised. The Gemara means like this, and it's quite obvious. When you stand and praise an individual, this is why it's so important to daven with a minyan. When you stand as an individual, so you're, heaven looks at you, hello, who you? And they listen to you, and, it may not be, God forbid, worthy of heaven responding to your prayer. But when you daven with the community, the prayer of the community is never rejected by God. Now, what is this? Kind of a loophole? Come and get lost in the crowd. They don't notice me. What happens then? It's not the meaning. The meaning is that if you daven with a minyan and you're connecting to your fellow Jew, you just became worthy. That itself is the worthiness. When you're answering Amen together with the community, you're one singular voice. You're saying Shemon Esrei D'Amida with the community in Baruch, and then you have your shopping list, which we have of God grant me from forgiveness to parnasa to health. You're deserving of it because you have lifted yourself over. You have revealed a deeper part of you that is one with everybody, and that's the pure part of you. The purest part of me is that part of me that where I'm one with my fellow Jew. That's the meaning here. So now we're starting to get a little bit of an answer. The community is different than the individual. Let's keep on going in this exploration because there's much more nuance. Keep on going. So far, we're getting, number 6. The deliberate transgressions are reckoned as his merits. The Gemara says, it's a crazy thing. The Gemara says there are 2 kinds of tshuva. There's one kind of teshuva, of repentance, where the past is erased and will not be mentioned, brought up to you, not in this world, not the next world. You're clean. All right. But the past, what was. It's just not attached to you. You have severed ties. You have renounced it. Then there's a higher level of teshuva. That's tshuva out of fear, the first one. I don't want punishment. I don't want to feel guilty. It's motivated by how ugly sin is. Then there is a higher level of tshuva out of love. Then the Gemara says, that's quote number 6, the deliberate sins become now reckoned as merits. How is that possible? Explains Tanya, since the very transgression is the cause of this great love. Why does he have this great passion? Because of what he sinned. So the sin now is being transmuted. It's the fuel for his newfound passion. We talked about this at length when Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur time. In general, the difference between these 2 teshuvas is the lower one is, I failed, I'm going to fix me. The higher one is, I failed you. And that's transformative. If I failed you, then it must make me rethink even the good things I did. If I could do this to you, what does it say about even the good things I do for you? The nice things, if I allow myself to do this. So his whole relationship is transformed, and true love is the expression. But why are we quoting this now? We're quoting this now because something negative becomes the fuel for something positive. What we're arriving at here is this. When the community, not the individual, when the community as a collective, after the first Pesach said, what have we done? What have we done? We didn't bring the Korban Pesach. We could have, and we didn't do it. That teshuvah is so great that they're not bringing is more than have they brought. And you don't have to bring it. Because what's the whole point of mitzvahs is to bring out your soul and your unity. You're doing it. That's the essence of the answer. The essence of the answer is that the individual is one thing. If you didn't do it, now you got a second chance if you really want. The community, in their regret, in their teshuvah, we'll see what Rabbi Shimon Yochai says, you've achieved what that mitzvah needs to do. You have united and you're pouring your souls out to God. What's the whole point of mitzvahs? Is to reveal your neshama in the world. And you've done that. Now, Rabbi Shimon Yochai is eminently qualified to give this teaching of all the sages of the Talmud for the following reasons. But before we get to that, some more examples of not doing is more than doing. For example, number 7, we don't say tachnan on festive days. So the question is, what, you don't have to do tshuva? It's okay on a festive day, sins are okay, so that's why we don't say tachnan. The answer is no. On Yom Tov, you're so inspired, you don't need tachnan. The Yom Tov lifts you to that. And the same thing, shofar, there's no shofar shana falls on Shabbos. The simple reason is the sages cut it out because maybe somebody will carry, listen to the depth of this, somebody will carry, doesn't have to blow, and it's Shabbos. So what's going to go to the rabbi, the sage to teach him, so he'll carry on Shabbos from his private home to the street, and you can't carry on Shabbos. So the sages, no shofar, that's the end of it. So Chassidus asks, such a far-fetched thing. If he does that, no one blows themselves. You got to shul to hear it anyway. And how can we deny this great mitzvah from the biggest tzaddikim because of some big neramas? Who doesn't know you can't carry on Shabbos, and he doesn't know how to blow the shofar. I mean, the whole thing is so far-fetched. The answer is you don't need it on Shabbos. What shofar is to arouse teshuvah and connection. Shabbos inspires it. And furthermore, here's the community. Listen very carefully, when the whole community is sensitive, even to this yid, who doesn't know the Shabbos, you'll forget, you can't carry, and he does not blow the shofar, and because of him, you say, okay, we're not going to blow. Oh, you're sensitive to that yid. That's the depth, that's the deepest that wants to see. That kind of connection. That's the deepest tshuva. You've gone to the depth of your own soul if you're embracing even this Jew. To the contrary, this sensitivity, that's the whole tshuva. That's what's teshuvah, bringing about the depth of your soul, and at that level, that's where you're connecting to all Jews. And number 8, another interesting story that Rebbe said, no mezuzah. What's the story? The previous Rebbe was during his arrest in 1927 in Soviet Russia. And so he treated his interrogators basically with contempt. He wouldn't speak Russian to them, only Yiddish. Tragically, they were Jews. The Jews are the most passionate communists and hounded religious Jews, even turning in their own parents often. That's how seductive communism was. It was the Messiah, the workers' paradise, and leaving the medieval superstitious world behind. Science, equality. It's very seductive. Till today, socialism, communism. And so he refused to speak Russian. He wouldn't stand in their presence. He got beaten for it. They got very frustrated with him. And just the 2 stories I've said them, them. One is that the gun was on the table, the pistol. And the interrogator says, this little toy has made the strongest tongues wag. The most closed mouth open and the tongue wag. So the previous Rebbe said, this toy can intimidate someone who has one world and many gods. This world, and after it's over, he worships money and power and pleasure. But I, he said, who have one God and 2 worlds, I'm not afraid of this gun, this toy. Another occasion, they said, do you know where you are? He was behaving like he was making demands. He wants his tefillin. Do you know where you are? He says, yes, I'm in this is what he said. I'm in a place that doesn't require mezuzah, like a pigsty or stall for animals that doesn't need mezuzahs. That was his response. Now, just in parenthesis, I remember when the Rebbe told that story, it was 1975 when he first launched the first campaign after tefillin was the mezuzah campaign. And so why did previous Rebbe say that? It was not only to show his contempt. He could have said, said, this is a pigsty. This is a place worthy for animals, not for human beings. He mentioned mezuzah because by saying it's a place that doesn't have a mezuzah, he was invoking the protection of the mezuzah. It's another example of through not, yes. This place, you can't put a mezuzah here, and he mentioned that. In that way, he elicited the blessing. So another example of through the negativity, the lack of doing, we actually connect to the objective, to the goal, to the depth, even more than actually doing it. Now, finally, is this. So we're already starting to get our answer. Rabbi Shimon Yochai is saying that when the community has regrets and said, what did we do? Rabbi Shimon Yochai says, you don't have to bring the korban in this regret and in this connection to each other as a community. You are bringing down and connecting everything that Pesach needs to achieve. The korban needs to achieve. Let me just tell you what the korban needs to achieve. Well, real quickly. Just why altogether? Just a simple question. Did God command to bring this sacrifice? Well, what's the point of it? And in Egypt, they had to have it 4 days before in their house. They had to roast it so it's public, and the blood placed on the lintels. Why? The basic answer is the Egyptians worshiped the sheep. And the Jews had to have a public, not private, public repudiation of the idolatry of Egypt. That's why it's roasted. You can't hide it. 4 days, the animal's bleeding in the house. Everybody's going to know what's going on. And they got to tell the Egyptians, we're going to sacrifice it and we're leaving. Sure. Why did they worship the sheep? It's a strange thing to worship. Sun, the moon, a sheep. Answer. Because the sheep follows the leader. The sheep is, you don't want to be a disruptor. You want to follow the crowd and get your pasture and live a nice life. That defines society out there. Everybody wants to fit in. A Jew is a rebel. We have to reject the sheep mentality that lies at the core of our identity, to rebel against the world and bring holiness and godliness. That's the rejection of the Egyptian idolatry. So that's why the bringing the korban is so great. Since Rabbi Shimon Yochai, If you as a people unite as one, that's the greatest rejection of idolatry. That's the greatest rejection of the status quo of the world. All Jews are one. We're one great soul, which the world is telling us now. You're otherworldly because you're all one. Us, Rabbi Shimon. That's what you're expressing now when you say, we want to bring the Korban. You are doing that. You are rejecting the world and its mindset, submission to authority that is brutal and seeks its own gain. You're achieving that. Now, number 9, the next few quotes quickly. Rabbi Shimon is the one that's eminently qualified to reveal this teaching because he himself achieved what mitzvahs need to do by not doing them. How so? Number 9, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai spent 13 years in a cave hiding from the Romans, and they did no tangible physical observance of mitzvahs. He was missing tefillin, he was missing the 4 kinds on sukkahs, the sukkah, matzah. Answer, by being in the cave. And why was he there? Because he was defending the Jewish people against the Romans. By being there, he accomplished all of that on a spiritual plane without any need to do it physically. And that's what he's saying now. On the page. He said, we'll start this now, continue next week. Beautiful. Number 10, let's read it slowly. There are 2 kinds of tzaddikim. What are the 2 kinds? So number 10, at the Sudu when Mashiach comes, Hashem will serve the tzaddikim. What's going to be the menu? The Sharabur, the great wild ox, and the Leviathan, the great sea creature. And I added also in wine. How could there be without good wine? It's going to be wine amashuma. Imagine how strong it's going to be, preserved since the 6 days of creation. According to some opinions, that was the tree of knowledge. They took it too early. But we will have it at the end. Okay. So it's all ruchnius, it's all spiritual. And you think that tzaddikim are interested in the big fat steak from this huge wild ox, and they want to have the big fish? I'm sure it'll be physical, but mainly it's spiritual. What does it mean? Look at number 11. The Alter Rebbe explains the 2 kinds of tzaddik. Tzaddikim of the terra firma, dry land tzaddikim, tzaddikim of the sea, amphibious tzaddikim. What does this mean? Dry land, you can see the naked eye, physical. The sea is a teeming world. To the naked eye, you don't see what's going underneath. It's all hidden. That represents this deeper spiritual world. So there are tzaddikim who their main thing is engaging the world physically. That's how they change the world. Then there are tzaddikim that change the world by bringing to bear to this world the spiritual realities. They bring the hidden world to the physical. That's Rabbi Shimon. He taught the Zohar. He was from the world, the oceanic world, the deep mystical world, and he brought that to the world. That's why he's the one that says you don't have to do it. You just reveal your soul, and Kabbalah is the soul of Torah. You're revealing your soul in oneness and in unity in your desire to bring the Korban. You've accomplished it. Now, just one more detail. We'll stop here. The Leviathan. The Leviathan, which is that name of the fish, it's from the root of the word Levi. Hapam Yilov Ish Elai. Leah said, now my husband will attach himself to me. Rabbi Shimon Yochai was this degree of deep attachment to Hashem, and he will continue next week, and we'll wrap it all up. He reveals that in every Jew. And in your collective cry as a people, we should have done it. Why didn't we bring it? Oh, you've achieved it. You've achieved it. Because that's the whole objective of Torah and mitzvahs. Okay, we did a lot of, it's all one unified theme. And Be'ez Hashem, next week we'll wrap it up. Oh, yeah. And the connection, of course, to Lag BARRED, he said. Friends, you're welcome to look at the end of the quotations are very beautiful, the Mashiach within, etc. And we'll look, God willing, next week. Have a wonderful Shabbos and a
beautiful shiur, beautiful shiur.
And Pesach Sheni. Eat matzah today. Eat matzah tonight at your Shabbos meal too. Okay.
Rabbi, wonderful
Shabbos, everyone. Good job. Good to see you.
Good Shabbos.